Hey girl, how you doing?
I'm actually fantastic. I'm fantastic. I just came back from Oahu and Maui for a month. I'm good. Getting over a cold, as you can probably hear, but other than that, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm in a new setting. It's a new me. It's a new, new life, new dicks. I'm getting it together. Um,
I love the new setting. It's incredible.
I feel it's very video friendly.
It
No,
is.
so
It is.
yeah, this picture, this photo, this painting in the back reminds me of the house that I grew up in. My parents definitely decorated using, I think, the same photo in the back, like the same painting.
What?
But
That's
yeah, like this
interesting.
the whole vibe of this place is very like the house I grew up in. And it was la-di-da, you know. It was
Right.
la-di-da. Like my parents, like they balled out with the furniture. It was, Pottery Barn and all those.
Pottery.
Yes, la-di-da. And I
Yeah,
know these
Pottery
people, I
Barn's
know
expensive.
it is. And I know these people definitely blinged out from Pottery Barn. Like if it were me, I'd be like, I'm gonna pretend like this isn't from IKEA, but I'm definitely getting the shit from IKEA. Like getting
Absolutely.
a whole set with the table ends and everything. Yeah. But
And
anyway,
put it together. Yep.
yeah. So what's been on your mind? What you been, what's been on your mind?
There's been a lot. Actually, there's been a lot of stuff. But I mean, I know we were talking about something earlier, and now I can't remember what it was.
We were talking about does God, I think somebody had said the other day where I was like, I don't know about that. But they said it in such a way that it was an absolute. They had said that God won't bless you if you're not following your calling.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what was your thought on that?
Anytime it's absolutes, man, God works in mysterious ways and he works with all of us. He, she, it, works with all of us in different kinds of ways. So I can't ever say that, I would say now if you know and have been getting the message directly, to your insides that, oh, I'm supposed to go this way and not that way,
Right.
and you purposely go the opposite way, then yeah, I think there's some repercussions for that. But if somebody's saying if you're not following your calling and they see your calling as something that you don't see, I think that's a gray area because sometimes you're not ready to meet your calling yet if you still haven't figured it out.
Right.
Or something like even for me, being a Pisces, I could be pulled in so many different directions and I can have different talents. I can have different, pull like things that I'm drawn to and not know which actual direction to go. And that could be something that's really authentic to myself, to my inside. Like I could really easily be indecisive, which is very Pisces to be indecisive. So that's something I would have to seek my own, inner guidance with and ask my team about
Yeah.
if I'm really serious about finding my calling. Then sometimes we're not ready, and we because our callings can be really big, and
Absolutely.
it can take levels to getting to whatever that is. Like if I'm supposed to be a leader, then I have to go through a lot of pathways of being a good student or a good follower first, and I don't even like saying follower, but I mean like
Oh yeah.
at least going through, being schooled, being
Right.
conditioned,
Right.
being, going through lessons, God, I have to be a follower of God in to some extent, because I would have to reach my God calling and like be in alignment with that to be
Right.
some kind of leader. I would have to, have God on my like in my front view in all of my mirrors, So I think it takes a lot
Totally.
of maturity to finally be like, yeah, this is my calling and this is what I'm gonna do. But that also can change. I think people sometimes think that their life is only supposed to be about one thing, but for some of us, especially in different like cycles of life,
Mm,
your calling could be different, a lot of varieties of different things. And so I don't necessarily believe that blanket statement that, you know, you're going to get punished if you don't follow what your calling is. Like your calling could be a variety of things.
I
What's your
agree. I agree. And I'll just piggyback on that because I feel like your calling can change depending upon who's in front of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like I guess there's an overarching, right? I do understand the idea, right? But when it comes to manifesting, see,
Mm.
because this is where, to me, it kind of gets muddy. And for me, it's been my manifestations like are like on and they're rolling out. It's like I'm typing in the order and they're like, okay, it's going to the cook. And he's throwing things out pretty quickly now.
Yeah.
And yes, I am stepping into my purpose, is what I see it to be at the moment. Um, like you and I have talked about this several times, and you've been one of the kind of guiding and pushing lights to kind
Oh,
of help keep me on that and remind me, and it keeps me kind of focused. And every time we'll have a conversation, I'll come back to, okay, I need to really get laser focused again
yeah.
and focus within. And again, it's like, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, right? And also Jesus tells the Pharisees that the kingdom of heaven is within.
Yeah.
So it's going within first. And again, like you said, blanket statements are, I
It's
don't
like
like blanket statements. Yeah.
me either.
It's like,
Me.
because then you're in dangerous territory, because absolutely things do change. I feel like it's like sand dunes, right? They change with the wind and then they mold into something new, and they're in a forever changing landscape. And I see that as our path that we walk. Um, and I also think that you manifest best, when you are following your heart. Again, and some would also then argue that your heart is God, right? Because God is love, God is light. So I think, when you're tapping in and you're doing things that truly set your soul on fire and that bring excitement to your life, like you said, you've told me this before, like, live your life, do the things that excite you and that, like, bring you joy.
Mm.
And I was telling this to somebody the other day. I said, I think when it comes to that, it's like choosing, like, even if they're both dull choices, right? It's the one that's the least amount of dullness to it. You know what I mean? So it's like the one that has a little bit more excitement to it.
Spark. Yeah.
And I think that that's where the rewards come in, when you're loving yourself and you're living life to the fullest and you're pouring out what you want to get back.
Mm.
And that's what I've noticed when I've embodied love and truly shifted my care and concern from myself constantly, like, oh, like, I would just, like, yeah, whatever, and I wouldn't really care too much, but I've made it a conscious choice to invest my time into other people and checking to make sure they're good and giving them time, and not, I was making it about me. I try not to do that, because I used to be very selfish, like
Mm.
someone else we know. And so
I think a couple people we may know,
yeah.
or
Yes,
more,
yes.
or more. Yeah.
So I've made a conscious choice to shift that and to love on people. And when I was on Oahu, I remember I was sitting in the hot tub and there's this guy and I was talking to him and he was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Wow, like you know a lot of people and they really seem to look out for you." I said, "Well, when you love on people, they love on you.
Mm.
And that's the blessings that you get in return." Like, and it's the long haul. Like, I've been putting, the woman I stayed with, her and her husband, I've known her and I trained her years ago. And I loved on them. I
Yeah.
loved on her and I invested my time. I loved her and I helped her get to where she wanted to get physically. And then I would constantly, like, reach out and keep in touch. And then I have this boom, I have this thing drop in my lap, this beautiful reward from that love, in my opinion.
Mm.
And she's like, "Yeah, come on out to Oahu and stay at our house for free." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a huge blessing. Some might be like, whatever, that's not a biggie. But to me, it was huge because it offered me a place to heal, a place to isolate, a place to come back to myself, my true self, my God self. But
Mm.
anyway, so that's my little rabbit hole that I kept. Okay, I talked too much. Go ahead.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, and we're not gonna do that here. You know, wherever the conversation goes, because I know I can be long-winded. 'Cause I know I can be long-winded. I just hope that whatever I'm long-winded about, people aren't falling asleep, you know, like, as long as, you know, you're getting something out of it, maybe a couple bit of laughs too. I mean, that's definitely a plus.
The laugh on the phone the other day was so perfect, and it was, like, from your soul. It was such a great laugh, and I was like, "That's the laugh I wanna hear." Like, every single time we have a conversation, that's the laugh that I wanna hear. It was, like, deep from the depths of your toes, like,
Yeah.
all the way down. It was
Aw.
so great, and I was like, "I love that laugh." And you're like, "Oh my god, my laugh." And I was like, "No, that laugh is giving me life." It was
You know,
absolutely
people
giving me
say I laugh like Muttley, that dog in that cartoon, you
I don't
know?
remember how that dog laughed.
Oops, can't stop.
I don't
Um,
think you sound like Muttley.
mm, um I mean, I don't think I can live it down. If I do, I think I yeah, it's nay on the Etsnay with that. It's a wrap. If
That's
I laugh
funny.
like Muttley, then it's who I am, you know, it's but girl, going back to what you were saying though, no, that is definitely a blessing that your friend let you stay there for free. And I will say, Angela, you know, you have the kind of reciprocity that others dream of having after having, you know, really loved on people or whatever, you know, like, and loved on people genuinely. Um, I won't say that that always happens, you know, and some of us is just, well, you know, I did what I could with what whoever it isn't, you know, and I'm not saying you do this, but it feels
Absolutely.
amazing to get returns on your energy that you've output. Like, and, but it doesn't always happen like that. I will
I
say that
agree.
I feel I have helped a lot of people more than I don't know if they could ever help me, you
Mm,
know, back because I know I have a level of awareness about a lot of stuff that I don't expect other people to have. That's part of my sensitivity and me being sensitive, just like, you know, you being a medium. There's certain things you can know that other people would never be able to know unless they had that, you know? So I guess we also are being used, you know, by the Most High, you know, with these divine gifts and her it's timing, you know, that energy's time. I just always say that because I don't feel like I will ever truly know the most high energy until I'm up there with the most
yeah.
high, you know. But I've from what I've heard, from what I've experienced and what I've heard other people experience about the most high, that it's an energy, you know. And
Mhm.
when we get to like the base, like the baseline of what we could know, the basic level is that this is an energy. This is that energy that makes grass grow out of concrete. This
Yep.
is that energy that has these seasons going like this, you know, like, and then, you know, in such a way where it's not necessarily timed, but then it kind of is, but then it's still unpredictable. You know, it's that kind of energy. Okay. It's a cycle, but it's not on a schedule. It's just when it ever is supposed to be the perfect time that it happens, it happens. You know, it's like giving birth, supposedly. This is what happened to me. And I remember my aunt said to me one time, she was like, you know, it's gonna be 9 moons, 9 full moons, and then your baby's gonna drop. It's when
Right.
I was pregnant. You know, she said 9 full moons. Sure enough,
Life
by the ninth full moon, and it just happened to be a Friday night, that's when my water broke, and that's when I was having baby. Now, I'm not gonna say that it wasn't with some extra drinks and pushes.
I'm not mad at you.
Okay, like, no, I mean, I think I shared the story with you, but I wanted my baby inside me. I'm like, I don't know about this world. I'm keeping this inside me, you know, as long
Yeah.
as I can. But that was a calling I had, and I didn't feel like I was ready for it.
Right.
And but I had to be ready for it because God thought I was ready for it. And it happened at a time where I thought I was sterile. But then there
Mm.
I was cleansing myself back into fertility and I didn't realize it. But I felt led to doing enemas and all this other random stuff that most people wouldn't think of doing. But I randomly felt like I needed to do that. And I did that for probably about 6 months. I did
Okay.
it 6 months, and because I had gotten a shot that I knew was not good for my reproductive system back when I was 21. Okay.
Oh.
So from 21 to 30, I could have had some, you know, oops. I won't say 21. I was 23. I'll
Okay.
see TMI. 23 was when I started, right? Because I was holding out, I was like,
As you
oh,
should. That's a good thing. It's
it
fine.
was, and no judgment to people that don't, because even
Absolutely not.
talking
I
about, yeah,
didn't.
yeah, okay, well, and that's the personal choice that everybody makes, because part of me, after I started waiting, I'm like, what am I really waiting for? Do I really feel like what I think what I want to exist exists for me right now? Because I felt this emptiness when I asked that question. I don't know if anybody's that's really for me and made for me, like, is in the same position and available right now anyway.
Right.
So I felt this emptiness. And then I thought, man, I feel like I'm stunting my relationship growth though, not engaging. So
Yeah.
that was how I started to feel, and not being an idealist. I was like, you know what? But kind of ideally on the flip side, and me being a 20 something, isn't this experiences I should be having? Because then I'm going to be in kindergarten when it's time to be an adult and I start adulting with somebody in a relationship if I don't actually know what's supposed to be going on here.
Right.
So that was
Absolutely.
so at 23/24 is when I had my first boyfriend anyway. He ended up being horrible, but I did learn a lot.
Mm.
I learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about relationship, and then I learned a lot about who's actually worthy of being in a relationship with, you know. But yeah, so when we talk about calling, when I got pregnant at 30, I mean, even the way that my parents reacted, I mean, you did this. And I mean, they talked to me like I felt like I was 17 again, and I was a 30-year-old, So, but they felt, and
Wow.
my parents aren't normal parents, so I'm not going to say this is normal.
Right.
But they felt like I wasn't ready, and it almost felt like they wanted me to have an abortion. They weren't the only ones. My partner at the time, who I did consider my boyfriend, and I thought we both were on the same page with that, but there were red flags along the way, and I chose to ignore them. But I actually
Okay.
didn't choose to ignore them to the extent that I wanted to get pregnant by this person. By the time I was ready to
Right.
break up with them, I was already pregnant. So
Yeah. Puts a damper on things.
so I was sterile, and then I was fertile, and then I knew I wanted to break up with this person. And finally, when I left them for about a month and visited one of my other friends for a month, that's when I realized I was pregnant. And that's also when I already had known before I made it to my friend's place that I wanted to break up. So, I mean, it was a lot of, life has a way of doing its own thing,
Right.
but still doing what it was supposed to do. And what I was supposed to be was is a mom. So if nothing else happened that I wanted to happen, being a mom was something that happened.
Right.
And I could even honestly say, that 6 months before it happened, I said, hey, God, it's not meant to happen. Or I had a conversation with another friend who was like the same life path as me. And he was like, oh my God, kids are the best thing. There's nothing in this world that's better than having, a kid. I was like, what, really? Wow. And as soon as he said that, I thought to myself, you know what? I think I could live my life without having kids.
Yeah.
I think I can live because I was so free. I
Right.
was on a venture after I was healing myself. I really felt like I needed to really heal myself. So I was already on a different calling path, which was
Yep.
to go on all these spiritual journeys that were also physical journeys. Because I said, you know what? I want to learn God through experience. I don't want to just stick to the book and read.
Yep.
I need God to show me. God, show me who you are. And let me go out here with
Absolutely.
just $500. See how far I can
Absolutely.
get. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it wasn't logical, but I mean, it did show me everything I need to see about the certain so-called friends I had in my life who actually weren't friends. I mean, and then also about faithing things out, learning to have trust and faith and miracles and prayers and all that. And I mean, that built my faith for real, was going through these situations where the money isn't adding up, the destinations and the mileage for where I needed the gas money isn't. I don't, how am I going to get
Right.
there? And miracles happen. The money started to
Absolutely.
supply itself, but I mean, the places that I stayed at started to supply themselves. It was always a struggle with a job, though, and even to this day, when I talk about calling, I think about how I feel like I'm perpetually always looking for a new job. Even
Mm.
the ones that I like, oh, now it's on pause, or, you know, Now, whatever job I do want, oh, I've got to get 10 more certifications where I didn't need to get certifications before. Or this other job that was a calling now that's fading out because AI is taking the place of writing.
So that
You
brings me to a quick topic that I wanted to touch on. The little job that had popped up for you
Oh, you mean,
and how you felt about that.
you mean
Make
the
a phone
phone
call.
one that was gonna be questionable, that one?
Yes.
Or the phone so this is what I'll say. I have recently had the opportunity to do 2 opposing jobs that are in the same field. One is a calling job that was a godsend, where it was high vibe, high every I mean, I felt like I found a whole group of unicorn people. I'm like,
Right.
"Wow," like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie, my faith in humanity already had faded years ago. I was like, "Ah, I don't think there's too many other people that, really, really sensitive or really empathetic and all this
Right.
other stuff, altruistic, all of that." Like, I think that's definitely a unicorn, you
Right.
know? So I had a calling job that I had found where it was talking to other unicorn people all day, right?
Right.
And typically, God likes to give me these parallel experiences where, because I'm an 11 life path, so this is usually how it works for me. I know it doesn't work like this for a lot of other people. He'll give me the really, really good on the high end light side,
Mm.
and then he'll show me the pits of the same position on the devil side.
I kinda love that.
But then is it up to me to then decide that I need both experiences? Because I definitely denied the devil one. And was I supposed to go into the devil one and be that kind of, sex operator?
Right.
And really hear the kinds of imagery, the kinds of low
Mhm.
vibe, root chakra unbalanced, you know, um, experience that I hadn't had in a while. Was I
Absolutely.
supposed to venture into that? Because I didn't. And today was, guess what? Today was the cutoff for me being able to do that. And I didn't meet my 20 hours. And I was like, you know what? I think I will pass itsnay on the etsnay with that as I wait for the other thing to open up again. Um,
Cool.
and then in the meantime, I haven't really found anything else,
Okay.
and I had been looking. So all in all, though, if I had gone into that, I would have known that, okay, this is my path, this is my life experiences that I'm supposed to be able to find the middle path, not the extreme, but experience both extremes to then come into the middle, into my oneness
Right.
on how we live with light and dark within us. We live with feminine and masculine energies
Absolutely.
always coexisting inside of us. So it isn't for us to cut off one and embrace the other. But I do feel, though, that it is for you to come into some higher self realizations.
Yeah.
But I feel like I also already lived that because I used to be an operator that took the appointments for an
Okay.
escort service in Las Vegas anyway. That
Okay.
was, it was perfectly legal and all that because it was women owned. It was women owned and it was an escort service.
Okay.
So I had to talk to the men on there and they would say, "Yeah, I want this blonde and I want Tiffany in here with the picture with this outfit on and I want her to do this and this," and so I'd already done that before.
Yeah.
And ironically, I ended up chatting about that experience in my so-called high vibe phone call job, where it was all variety of topics being
Right.
talked about, and one of them was, you know, what's strangest, all the different like strangest jobs you ever held, that kind of thing, and that one was always in my mind from Las Vegas. Like, oh, one time when I couldn't find a job with anything else, I had to be an escort service appointment setter.
Yeah.
And the ex-best friend of mine, she was doing it on the opposite side of town, and she said I mean, the dude's name, he was like a pimp, we'll call him T. He had all these necklaces and chains and rings and all this, and she was like, she had to talk like this, "Hey, baby, who do you want tonight?" Like that, she had to get all up in the voices and all that. I didn't have to do all that, but I was just talking to the guys, and even just the vibe of knowing what they wanted and hearing the girls come back and share their experiences or having
Wow.
to be on the phone and lie to the men, to get the girl into safety. I mean, life is real and it's happening all the time.
Right.
The reality of life. It isn't just like, because we want things to be good, it's good all the time. It isn't. And I've had too many experiences in my life where life got real.
Yeah.
and life got real too fast, and it was like it usually isn't something you're prepared for, but yeah, so I mean all of that had, shown me about, how to stay in the middle ground and how to be kind of honest with myself about life as an experience altogether. It isn't just about, high highs and low lows, but it is about how do you how do you come into a oneness with yourself about these different experiences that happen? What do you make out of all that? That
Right.
could be somebody's calling, is
Mhm.
to just learn self-mastery. And I honestly feel that's
Right.
everybody's calling. If we were to say any kind of more of a blanket universal truth statement about what people's calling is, I would say to some level, everybody is here to master themselves at some level.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. What thoughts do you have about Yeah,
Well,
actually, you know what?
one,
Let me
I'm
ask you
glad you
this.
huh?
Go on. Mhm.
I was just gonna say I'm glad you didn't take that job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. You know what I realized I'd already experienced that side of life before. And I'd been talking about it enough at my other job where I was like, "May did I manifest that reality?" Because it was something that was still had imprinted on my soul.
Mm,
That was something that I felt for other women
yeah.
that I felt bad about for them because oftentimes when we find ourselves in those kind of jobs, it's because we feel that that's all we're getting or that's all we can find. That's all I don't want to say necessarily that's all you're worth, but you know that this
Mm,
world, you absolutely can find that because that's always what this
yeah.
world is willing to pay for,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
And what were you gonna ask?
I was going to ask you, like lately, what have you felt that you've been self mastering in your life?
My gifts. I
Mm.
and being more gentle with me. I've the body will whisper before it screams. You
Oh,
know this. As former bodybuilders, yeah.
yeah.
Um, and I always end up getting myself into a pickle because I'm always going yang. Like it's always the yang or the yang in energy. And it's always go, 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 hard, hard, hard,
Yeah.
lifting until, you puke or pass out, one or the other, or
Wow.
it's not a workout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To now learning to listen to my body. I was at a tournament today judging, and I was sitting there with one of the grandmasters that I just hold with such high regard. And I said, I've been healing from a little injury or whatever. And I told him what happened, and he was just like, wow. I said, yeah, it's been 3 months. And I've turned down 3 jobs.
Mm.
Normally, 3 jobs don't come back to back like that. But of
Yeah.
course they did because I'm having to take time for myself. And it's going to be like, okay, what's more important, right?
Yeah.
The scratch, the work, the IMDb credits, or healing.
Mm.
So, where it's like I take maybe 5 months versus 5 years, right? Because if I take this job, my luck, oh, we need you to hang, we need you to hang from this with your left arm. You know what I mean? And do
Yeah.
something. That's how it always works. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't even risk that. And I can't risk going on set, even doing fight scenes and having to do reactions because it's the reaction that started it. So, and the reactions are like the bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's not so much falling downstairs or holding on and hanging on to things, but fight scenes and stuff like that. So it's been it's a hard lesson for me
Mm.
because I tend to just keep going. And I think a lot of us just kind of just keep going and we keep putting our body through hellacious shit with zero thanks, zero gratitude to our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then we nitpick at our bodies. Like it carries us through all this and then we're like, "Oh, I don't like you cuz you have fat and you're not this and you're not that." And it's crazy. And so I've made it kind of a thing like every when I remember every couple months. I wanted to do it every month, but to start at my toes and just talk to my body and just be, like, grateful for every single inch of my
Yeah,
body and what it's done for me.
yeah,
And I've, like, sobbed for hours because I felt like complete an asshole because I was like, "I'm sorry," like, "You've kept going through a lot of crazy things,
yeah,
and you just keep going, and you just keep going with 0 thanks, so I'm gonna thank you now." And
yeah,
it's been with self-love and being gentle and resting when I need to rest this injury and not focusing so much on the healing, but focusing on just me, not healing physically, right? Not being obsessed when it's gonna be finished,
yeah,
but taking the time and kind of embracing the journey that it is, not necessarily the destination, right?
yeah. No,
But
I hear that. Yeah, I mean, and I totally feel you with that. I was even just thinking about that this morning when I usually do my daily meditation outside in the sun and like stretch and lay on my yoga mat, and I spend like 2 hours out there
I'm
just
so
like
jealous.
I mean, I know, right? Because the weather is still what it
Cold
is.
here now. I mean,
I
I'm here now,
know.
so it's cold.
It just you know what? We had our first cold day yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, me
Really?
and kid
What was the cold? What was the cold temp again?
70? 70, but
Really?
the
Really?
the low was 50 though, so I mean, we turned on the heater. We did turn on the heater because at night it was like 50 something, so we started to feel that a little bit. But yeah, but anyway, when I was outside, I thought the same thing
You've been
because
away
I
from here too long.
yeah, girl, you gotta get back to the Southern America
It's
or
cold
come out
down there too.
oh, no, you gotta come out west then, because we start getting really our cold months are end of December to the beginning of March, so 3 months like it should be.
So, literally today at the tournament, the person I was talking to, he was like, "I'm moving to Vegas, and a whole bunch of people are moving to Vegas." And I was like, "Oh, god, am I gonna have to move to Vegas?" And I was just thinking, "Oh, man, meditating in the morning on the Red Rock Canyon."
Girl, I would consider living in Vegas again. I
Would
would
you?
I totally would, and hey, we get our I'm in my
Okay.
manifesting phase.
Alright.
I've been doing I'm not even gonna say it on here. I've been doing my manifesting stuff, and just like you said, like the cook has already got the order already served, like you trying to put in the cook already got it there, even before you even
Okay.
put in your order,
Alright,
you know?
alright,
So
I'm putting that there. I'm putting that in there.
yeah, because I would live there. It's you know what? The weather, oh my gosh, even
Yeah.
there, I'll tell you, 10 years ago, their winter was like 3 weeks long. I'm not gonna lie. We took out our coats for 3 weeks. And then after that 3rd week, it went right back to 85.
Ooh.
I could not believe my senses, that's
Alright,
all
I'm
it was.
thinking, I'm thinking, I'm like, "Geez,
That was
I've
10
been."
years ago. I think they might actually have the season like over here, in Arizona. It's 3 months. I don't know. That was 10 years ago. The weather's changed, but
It
besides
is.
that,
It is.
I think it's changed, yeah. But, besides that though, when I was outside earlier, I was thinking that same thing that you said because I heard somebody say, "I need to take time and talk to my feet and say thank you feet for walking and bearing in horrible shoes sometimes. And you take a lot of, I don't even massage you, I don't." And I could tell you the one time where I lost probably the most weight was when I spent time each day giving time to each part of my body, whether it was through stretching, self massage, meditation, or really just touching myself and really trying to get through the knots in my body and actually had
Ooh.
like consciousness about where the knots were and then would work through them.
Yeah.
Like do active release therapy, like
Yeah.
we're gnawing at it,
Ooh, I'm gonna have to,
um,
yeah.
that was in Las Vegas when I first learned to do that. It was when I had that boyfriend. It was out in Las Vegas that it started first. And we were out
Mm.
in the sun and yeah, doing the meditations and stuff. So the stuff that stayed with me without the dude, was doing the meditations. But like I was saying, like we were talking about self-mastery before, that was something that what you were saying about resting, that's also been a lesson that I feel has been one that's that one is about staying true to rest, because with my other job, when I was doing the phone calls, I was probably working 9 hours a day like every day except for one day, and
Right.
even on that one day I would still work like 4 hours. So I had to do a whole cleanse, like because my eyes were red and I felt like they were starting to yellow, which was letting me know that, oh, I'm stressed. So I figured that out, and I also realized I wasn't finding another job because God wasn't letting me, because it's like,
Right.
"No, you have to rest." So I feel you, I'm on the same page as you. I have not been able to work for 2 weeks, and I felt like that 2 weeks has been really good because I needed it, and I needed to spend more time with my kid, and I also needed it to unplug because even when I wasn't working, I was thinking about work. Like, okay, I'm gonna do it like this. I was like a calculator. Like, okay, if I do this and then I do this, because I want to have savings, shoot. Like I want to have savings. I want to
Right.
have, like a cushion, so
Absolutely.
but then you also want to be able to relax and be able to
Yeah.
feel like, you don't need recreational substances to finally relax, so like
Mhm.
CBD oil and all this stuff. I think people turn to because they can't relax. So, yeah. But I'm so glad you had a lovely trip. Um I hope that it's giving you direction about where you are to go next, and that you have been able to align with your heart more and know that, know what's calling you for real. Yeah.
I'm working on it. It's
Yeah.
still a little muddy, but there's different avenues that I'm definitely looking into. So,
I'm just glad you got a month there. I was like envious. I mean, I've been watching Bahamas Life. I'm from the Bahamas originally, but I've been watching Bahamas Life, especially after you got back. I'm like,
mm,
man, real estate is only that much. I'm like, God damn.
and that's
I
what I'm
didn't
learning about too, so I'll have to fill you in on that too about real estate.
Please, like, shoot, I need to be a real estate agent. I mean, I should be I could be the pretender. I've been so many things. But talk about callings.
You
Girl,
never
again, let's
know.
chat.